You've had thoughts that would horrify people, violent fantasies, revenge scenarios, dark impulses you'd never admit out loud, thoughts about hurting someone who hurt you, imagining their pain, their suffering, their destruction. You push these thoughts down, bury them, pretend they don't exist, because if people knew what goes through your mind, they'd think you were evil, broken, dangerous. But here's what nobody tells you. Marcus Aurelius had these thoughts too. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, the man history remembers as virtuous, had violent thoughts. Seneca, the great Stoic teacher, fantasized about revenge. Epictetus, the slave who became wise, imagined harming his master. They didn't suppress these thoughts. They didn't deny them. They didn't let them make them evil. They did something else, something that made them wise. Today I'm showing you the shadow self, the dark part of you that thinks forbidden thoughts, feels forbidden urges, imagines forbidden acts. This isn't about becoming good by denying darkness. This is about becoming whole by integrating it. By the end, you'll understand why your darkest thoughts don't make you evil. They make you human. Carl Jung, the psychologist who studied the human mind deeper than almost anyone, discovered something the world didn't want to hear. Inside every person, there exists a shadow, not metaphorically, literally, a part of your psyche that contains everything you've rejected about yourself, everything you've deemed unacceptable, your rage, your cruelty, your selfishness, your violence, your lust for power, your capacity for destruction. You were taught these things are bad, so you buried them, pushed them into the unconscious, pretended they don't exist. But here's the problem. What you deny controls you. What you deny doesn't disappear. It grows in the darkness, gaining power, until one day it erupts. The good person who suddenly snaps, the quiet man who commits violence, the moral teacher caught in scandal, the righteous leader who falls to corruption. This is the shadow, unleashed, because it was never integrated. Jung said, and listen to this carefully, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Translation: the more you deny your darkness, the more dangerous it becomes. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years before Jung. They just used different words. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth, emperor of Rome, commander of armies, and he had thoughts. Thoughts about using his power to crush his enemies. Thoughts about violence, revenge, domination. Thoughts about making traitors suffer. He could have acted on any of these thoughts. Nobody could have stopped him. He was the emperor, but he didn't. Why? Because he acknowledged the thoughts, examined them, and chose differently. In his private journal, his meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He didn't say, pretend you don't have dark thoughts. He said, recognize you have the power to choose. The Stoics practiced something they called prososche, continuous attention to your inner state, not suppression, awareness. When a dark thought arose, rage, cruelty, violence, the Stoic would, 1. Notice it. I'm having a thought about violence. 2. Examine it. Where does this come from? What triggered it? 3. Choose. Do I act on this or let it pass? This is shadow integration, not denial, not indulgence. Awareness and choice. Seneca, who advised the Emperor Nero, one of history's most brutal tyrants, watched cruelty daily. He felt the pull toward that cruelty, the temptation of power, the dark satisfaction of revenge. And he wrote about it, honestly, brutally. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. You have to go through the darkness, not around it, not over it, through it. Face your shadow, or it faces you when you're least prepared. If you're recognizing yourself in this, you're not alone. Drop a comment with the word shadow, and I'll know you're on this journey with me. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who acknowledge their darkness. They're the ones who deny it. The religious leader who preaches purity, then gets caught with darkness. The anti-corruption politician caught taking bribes. The family man who speaks about values, cheating in secret. The peaceful activist who abuses people behind closed doors. Why does this happen? Because when you deny your shadow, it doesn't disappear. It operates unconsciously. You're not choosing your actions anymore. Your shadow is, and you don't even realize it. You see your own rejected traits in other people, and you hate them for it. This is called projection. The man who obsesses over others' greed while being greedy himself. The woman who judges others' anger while being filled with rage. The person who calls everyone manipulative while manipulating constantly. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." What you hate in others is what you've rejected in yourself. Your enemies are mirrors, showing you your shadow. But here's the darkest truth. Denied darkness eventually erupts. The nice person who never expressed anger suddenly explodes in rage. The rational person who denied all emotion breaks down completely. The moral person who suppressed all dark urges commits the unthinkable. Suppression creates pressure, and pressure eventually explodes. Epictetus, who lived as a slave, had every reason to hate, to want revenge, to fantasize about violence against his master. And he did. He admitted it. He felt those urges, those dark thoughts. But he also said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He felt the darkness, acknowledged it, and chose differently. That's not suppression, that's mastery. So how do you do this? How do you face your shadow? Acknowledge your darkness without becoming evil. Here's the Stoic method, refined by Jung, perfected by time. Step 1. Acknowledge without judgment. When a dark thought arises, don't panic, don't suppress it, don't tell yourself I'm a terrible person. Just notice it. I'm having a thought about violence. Not I am violent. A thought passing through. Thoughts are like clouds. They come, they go. You are the sky, not the clouds. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. Dark thoughts would arise. Rage at incompetent senators. Desire for revenge against traitors. Impulses toward cruelty. And he'd write, "This is a thought. This is an impulse. This is not me." Step 2. Examine the source. Every dark thought has a source, a wound, a fear, a need. When you feel rage, ask, what was threatened? My ego, my safety, my values. When you fantasize about revenge, ask, what pain am I trying to resolve? When you imagine dominance, ask, where do I feel powerless? Seneca said, "He who does not know his wound cannot heal it." Your shadow isn't random. It's wounded parts of you, trying to protect you in unhealthy ways. The child who was powerless creates a shadow that craves power. The child who was abandoned creates a shadow that clings. The child who was hurt creates a shadow that wants to hurt back. Understanding this doesn't excuse the darkness, it explains it. And explanation is the first step to transformation. I am creating more content on shadow work and Stoic psychology. If this resonates, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this series. Step 3. Channel the energy. Here's what most people miss. Shadow energy is powerful energy. Your rage, properly channeled, becomes justice. Your cruelty, properly directed, becomes discipline. Your selfishness, properly understood, becomes self-respect. Your violence, properly transformed, becomes protection. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius felt rage at Rome's enemies, but instead of acting from rage, he used that energy to protect Rome strategically. Seneca felt ambition, desire for power, but instead of corrupting himself, he channeled it into wisdom, into teaching, into legacy. Jung said, "One doesn't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Make the darkness conscious, and it becomes fuel, not poison." Step 4. Practice shadow work. Daily practice, just 10 minutes. Ask yourself, what dark thought did I have today? What does it reveal about my wounds? How can I meet that need consciously, instead of letting shadow do it unconsciously? Write it down. Don't judge it. Don't fear it. Just see it. Marcus Aurelius did this every night. His meditations are shadow work, written in real time, examining his anger, his frustration, his dark impulses, not to become them, but to understand them and choose differently. This is self-mastery. When you've integrated your shadow, you don't become dark, you become whole. You stop projecting your darkness onto others. You stop suppressing your rage until it explodes. You stop being controlled by unconscious impulses. You become someone who can feel rage without acting from it. Someone who acknowledges dark thoughts without becoming them. Someone who knows their capacity for evil and chooses good anyway. This is true morality, not innocence. Choice. A child who's never been tempted isn't good, they're innocent. An adult who's been tempted knows the darkness and chooses differently. That's virtue. Marcus Aurelius had the power to be a tyrant. He knew the appeal. He felt the temptation. He acknowledged the shadow, and he chose daily to be just instead, to be wise instead, to serve instead. That's not suppression, that's integration. Seneca was ordered to kill himself by Nero. After years of service, betrayed, condemned to die, he could have raged, cursed, collapsed in bitterness. His shadow would have loved that, but he faced death with calm, with dignity, with grace. Because he'd spent years integrating his shadow. He knew his capacity for rage, for bitterness, for hatred. And he chose, in his final moments, to transcend it. This is freedom. Shadow work is not an excuse to act on dark impulses. Integration doesn't mean, I acknowledge my rage, therefore I can hurt people. No, it means, I acknowledge my rage, I understand its source, and I choose not to harm. There's a difference between feeling darkness and being darkness. The Stoics felt everything. Rage, grief, desire. They didn't deny emotions. They didn't act unconsciously from them. They felt, they examined, they chose. Jung warned, the shadow is dangerous only when we refuse to acknowledge it. Acknowledge it, integrate it, master it, But never, ever let it control you. You've had dark thoughts. You'll have more. You're not evil. You're human. The question isn't, how do I stop having dark thoughts? The question is, how do I make peace with them? Marcus Aurelius knew his shadow. Seneca faced his darkness. Epictetus acknowledged his rage. Jung studied his own demons, and they all became wise, not by denying darkness, but by integrating it. Tomorrow I'm showing you how to identify those who haven't integrated their shadow, the psychopaths, the manipulators, the ones who project their darkness onto the world. But today, focus on your shadow. Face it, know it, master it. Subscribe to Valor Vision, because the journey to wisdom starts in the dark.